Imagine stepping into a grand mansion only to discover it holds the secrets to your lost past. That's exactly what happens to Amelia, a poor girl who applies as a maid, only to uncover a shocking truth that changes her life forever. Before we dive into this gripping story of family, betrayal, and redemption, let us know in the comments, where are you watching this video from? We love hearing from our viewers all around the world. Now, let's begin. The grand gates of the Blackwood mansion creaked open as Amelia stepped inside, clutching her thin coat around her shivering frame. The biting winter wind cut through her like shards of glass, but the promise of work warmed her resolve. She had nothing to lose, no home, no family, no past she could recall. Life had been a string of abandoned orphanages and odd jobs, each more soul-crushing than the last. This opportunity felt like her last hope. The towering mansion loomed before her, its Gothic spires piercing the grey sky. Word in town was that Lady Eleanor Blackwood, the reclusive matriarch, rarely left the estate. Her wealth was legendary, but so was her tragedy. Decades ago, she had lost her only daughter and granddaughter in a mysterious accident, and since then, the mansion had been shrouded in silence. Amelia knocked on the grand oak doors. Moments later, they opened to reveal an older butler with a face as cold as the air. He scrutinized her as though she didn't belong, but she squared her shoulders. "I'm here for the maid position," she said, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. The butler let her in, his expression unreadable. The interior of the mansion was as grand as it was haunting. High ceilings, chandeliers dripping with crystals, and walls lined with family portraits made the place feel alive with whispers of the past. Amelia was led to the parlor where Lady Blackwood awaited. The woman was seated by the fireplace, her silver hair pulled back into an elegant chignon. Her sharp eyes, like twin blades of steel, pierced through Amelia as she entered. "You're quite young for this job," Lady Blackwood said curtly, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "I'm 19, ma'am," Amelia replied, standing her ground. Something flickered in the older woman's expression, a shadow of emotion so fleeting it might have been imagined. "You're hired," she said abruptly. "Start immediately, no slacking, no questions." Amelia bowed her head, masking her relief. As the butler led her away to the servants' quarters, she couldn't shake the strange intensity of Lady Blackwood's gaze. It was as if the woman had seen a ghost. Later that night, Amelia began her first shift cleaning the West Wing. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of the old floorboards. As she dusted the portraits lining the hall, one caught her attention. It was a painting of a young girl, no older than 4, with wide, curious eyes and a cascade of golden curls. Something about her looked familiar. A pang shot through Amelia's chest. She couldn't explain it, but her heart raced as she stared at the child's face. Suddenly, the butler appeared behind her, his voice like ice. "You shouldn't linger," he said. "The West Wing is no place for idle hands." Amelia nodded quickly and returned to her work, but unease settled over her. Why did that child's face stir a feeling she couldn't place? And why did she feel like she'd seen this house before? As she lay in her tiny bed that night, the image of the girl haunted her. She felt a pull, a connection she couldn't understand, and she didn't yet know that this mansion held secrets that could unravel everything she thought she knew about herself and her past. Amelia awoke to the sound of muffled whispers. The stillness of the night had been replaced by an unsettling hum that seemed to emanate from the mansion's walls. She sat up, heart pounding, and strained to hear. Was it the wind or voices? The whispers grew louder, drawing her out of bed. She pulled on her coat and tiptoed into the dimly lit hallway. The mansion seemed to breathe around her, its cold air wrapping her like a shroud. Following the sound, she found herself back in the west wing, the forbidden part of the house. A faint light seeped from beneath a heavy wooden door. Amelia hesitated, her hand trembling as she reached for the brass handle. The butler's warning from earlier echoed in her mind, but something stronger, curiosity or perhaps destiny, propelled her forward. The door creaked open, revealing a small, dimly lit study. Dusty bookshelves lined the walls, and a large oak desk sat in the center. But what caught Amelia's attention was the collection of objects on the desk. A silver locket, a pair of baby shoes, and a faded photograph of a young woman holding a child. Amelia's breath caught. The woman in the photo looked eerily familiar, like an older version of herself. She picked up the photograph, her fingers trembling. Who was this woman? Why did she feel a strange pull toward her? Before she could think further, the sound of footsteps snapped her out of her trance. She turned to see Lady Blackwood standing in the doorway, her face pale as a ghost. "What are you doing in here?" Lady Blackwood demanded, her voice sharp but laced with something else. Fear. I heard something," Amelia stammered, clutching the photograph. "I didn't mean to intrude." Lady Blackwood's eyes narrowed, but her gaze fell to the photograph in Amelia's hand. For a moment, her steely composure cracked. Her lips parted and her hands trembled ever so slightly. "Where did you get that?" the older woman asked, her voice trembling. "It was here," Amelia replied, confused by the intensity of Lady Blackwood's reaction. "Who are they? Why does she—" Amelia stopped herself, but it was too late. "Why does she look like you?" Lady Blackwood finished, her voice barely above a whisper. She took a step closer, her eyes scanning Amelia's face as though searching for answers. Amelia felt the air grow heavier. "I don't know," she said honestly. "I've never seen this before, but I feel like I've been here, like I know this place." Lady Blackwood stared at her for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she abruptly turned and left the room, leaving Amelia standing there, more confused than ever. The next morning, Amelia noticed a shift in the household. The other servants avoided her, their eyes filled with unease. The butler seemed colder, if that was even possible, and Lady Blackwood was nowhere to be found. Determined to make sense of her strange connection to the house, Amelia began exploring during her breaks. She discovered hidden passageways and locked doors, each one deepening the mystery. One afternoon, she stumbled upon a hidden alcove behind a tapestry in the library. Inside, she found a collection of letters tied with a red ribbon. The letters were from someone named Elizabeth, Lady Blackwood's daughter. They spoke of a forbidden love, a child born in secret, and a promise to return. Amelia's hands shook as she read the final letter. "Mother, I cannot bring her back to the mansion. They'll destroy us if they know, but I swear to you one day she will find her way home." Amelia felt her knees weaken. A child born in secret. Could that child be her? That night, Amelia confronted Lady Blackwood. She found the older woman in the grand drawing room, staring at the flames in the fireplace. "Who am I?" Amelia demanded, her voice trembling. "Why do I feel like I belong here?" Lady Blackwood turned to her, her face shadowed with grief. "You are a reminder of everything I've lost," she said, "and everything I've hoped for." Amelia's breath caught. Am I her child?" Lady Blackwood's silence was deafening, but then she nodded. "You are my granddaughter," she said, tears glistening in her eyes. "Elizabeth's daughter. We thought we'd lost you forever." Amelia's world spun. She wanted to feel relief, joy even, but something didn't add up. "If that's true, then how did I end up alone in an orphanage?" she asked, her voice rising. Lady Blackwood's expression darkened. Because someone betrayed us, she said, and I fear they're still watching. In the shadows outside the drawing room, the butler listened silently, a sinister smile spreading across his face. Amelia's heart raced as she stared at Lady Blackwood, her newly discovered grandmother. The revelation should have brought relief, but instead, unease crept through her. Lady Blackwood's words about betrayal lingered like a storm cloud. "Who betrayed us?" Amelia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lady Blackwood sighed, her age suddenly showing in her weary posture. "I have my suspicions, but I've never had proof. Elizabeth, your mother, trusted the wrong person. It cost us everything." Before she could say more, a sharp noise echoed through the hall, a crash, followed by hurried footsteps. Lady Blackwood's face twisted in alarm. "Stay here," she ordered, but Amelia ignored her, following the sound instead. She found herself in the mansion's vast library, where the butler, Mr. Graves, was rifling through an old trunk. His usually calm demeanor was gone, replaced by frantic movements. Amelia watched from the shadows as he pulled out a bundle of papers and muttered to himself. "I knew she'd figure it out eventually," he hissed, his voice venomous. "Should have made sure the girl disappeared for good." Amelia's blood ran cold. He was the one. "You!" she shouted, stepping into the light. Graves froze, his expression morphing from shock to disdain. "Ah, the lost lamb returns," he sneered, dropping the papers onto the desk. "I should have handled you when I had the chance." "Handled me?" Amelia repeated, her voice trembling with anger. "You're the reason I grew up alone. You betrayed my mother." Graves smirked. "Your mother was a fool. She fell in love with a man beneath her station and thought she could hide you from the world. But I had other plans. I knew you'd be a threat to the Blackwood fortune." Amelia's fists clenched. "You destroyed lives for money. You let a family believe their child was dead." Graves stepped closer, his tone chilling. "And I'd do it again. You don't belong here." Before he could say more, Lady Blackwood appeared in the doorway, flanked by 2 guards. Her face was a mask of fury. "I trusted you, Graves," she said coldly, "and you repaid me with treachery." Graves laughed bitterly. "You should have thanked me. Your daughter's decisions would have ruined your legacy. I saved it." "No," Lady Blackwood said, her voice firm. "You destroyed it. Guards, take him away." The guards seized Graves, who struggled briefly before being dragged out of the room. Lady Blackwood turned to Amelia, her expression softening. "I failed you," she said quietly. "I should have found you sooner." Amelia shook her head. "You didn't know. But now, we can rebuild what was lost." Over the next few weeks, the mansion transformed. Secrets were uncovered, rooms were reopened, and Lady Blackwood began to heal from decades of grief. Amelia, too, found herself stepping into a new role, not as a maid, but as a granddaughter reclaiming her place in a family she never knew she had. One day, as they walked through the gardens, Lady Blackwood handed Amelia a small ornate box. Inside was the silver locket from the study. When Amelia opened it, she saw a tiny portrait of her mother and herself as a baby. "This belonged to your mother," Lady Blackwood said. "She always believed you'd find your way home." Amelia closed the locket and clutched it to her chest. "I feel like I finally have." But as she smiled, a figure watched from the shadows of the woods, their face obscured. The past had been uncovered, but not all dangers were gone. Some secrets had yet to reveal themselves. If this tale of family, mystery, and redemption touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Hope. There are more twists and turns waiting for you in our next story. See you soon.